This has been another sort of hectic day, not nearly in the same vein that yesterday was, thankfully. It's right at 7 o'clock. I'm filming this video. As I mentioned in the video I posted last night, I was tagged in a YouTube thing. It's like it's like author newbie tag or whatever on YouTube. I was tagged by Austin, and so today's video is going to be answering some of those questions. Originally there's like 13 questions in this tag, and as I had mentioned before, my computer doesn't like to edit video when it gets really long, so I had to shorten the list. But anyway, let's get into that and see how it goes. I have a terrible memory and no cell phone, so I have to rely on the laptop for the list. Okay, the first question that I chose says, what genres do you write in? I'm not a huge fan of genre. I mean, I realize it's convenient for readers who want to find books of a similar theme or feel, you know, that they might enjoy. But as an artist, the whole notion of genre is sort of like, it's like being put in this box where you have to write a certain kind of thing or include certain elements, and it's just, in my opinion, kind of a drag, and I'd rather not do that. I'd rather not be limited that way. So, but anyway, the genre that I am going with my novel is urban fantasy. And I chose that primarily because it is a sort of melting pot of other genres. So in my mind there's a lot more freedom there. But I mean, also it takes place in present day, and it has some like magical and paranormal elements, and Emily is crazy hyper for some reason. So you may see her hopping back and forth. But anyway, let's move on to question 2. What is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? I'm only going to answer part of this. As far as tense goes, thus far, this whole novel, for the most part, has been third person. And it's odd. I enjoy reading first person if it's well done. Having said that, I don't think as an author I'm ready to try to write first person. I don't know that I could do it well, and I don't think it would fit my novel with what I'm trying to do. There are way too many characters, and there's way too much going on. It's a really tremendous story, and there's a lot of layers to it. So yeah, there's my answer for that. As far as category of story, I'm not really concerned about that either. I mean, you would probably call it adult because there are some darker themes in the work. That's about all in there. Number 3, when did you start writing? I've been writing really as long as I can remember. I used to actually have a little story that I wrote probably when I was like 7 or 8. And I was going to read from it, but I couldn't find it, and I didn't want to invest the time searching throughout my entire house to try to locate it. But yeah, writing has always been something that I was passionate about and enjoyed. The thing with that, when I was younger growing up, to begin with, the internet didn't exist. So there are so many things technology-wise that weren't there. Specifically like self-publishing, that idea didn't exist either. You know, so unless you knew someone or were lucky or whatever, like, it's just the idea of getting published back then was a joke, you know. So yeah, I mean, for various other reasons, writing was something that I did in my free time that I enjoyed, but I never really thought, oh, there's a chance that I'll be able to publish a book or someone else will ever read what I write beyond the people that I know. And now, I mean, now, as I said in one of my other videos, there's no excuse. self-publishing has sort of opened the door for anyone to write who has a passion for it and a story they want to share. Okay, question 4. No, that was that. We're on to question 5 here, I think. Or no, question 4 was what's the first story that you ever wrote? And there again, like I said, I couldn't find that. It would be hard for me to pick one out to share for this. I don't know what the very first story was. I will say there was a story that I started. What was this? This would have been back in '99, which is like 5 eternities ago. You know, seemingly to me like just a hellacious amount of time. But this was back in the day. I don't even think I had a computer then. I was writing on paper. But it was an interesting story. It's not a story necessarily that I would write now, and if I did, I would change the bulk of it. I still have most of it written down in notebooks, packed away in storage. But it was just about this character who started off on this kind of quest. It was yet again another mix of fantasy and fantasy merging into our reality, and the weird things that can occur when something like that happens. Okay, question 5. What authors have inspired your writing the most? This is another tricky question. I wouldn't necessarily say that a lot of other authors have inspired my writing, but I will say that other authors have inspired me to write. And in my mind, those are two distinct separations. Like, I've talked about it before, some of my favorite authors, you know, Stephen King, Neil Gaiman, typically people who work in those genres of horror or fantasy. That's usually my go-to for what I enjoy. Let's see. Question 6. Do you type on a computer, typewriter, write everything out by hand, and where? I do the bulk of my writing here on the laptop, which means I'm on the bed. It's a little more comfortable for me. I couldn't imagine having to sit in like a chair at a desk or whatever. It just seems really lame. And so this is sort of my space where I create. I do take a lot of notes at different times, like I'll have an idea for a future scene or something about a character, or maybe a piece of dialogue. Then I'll write it down in a notebook, you know, via hand, of course, but otherwise I do most of my writing here on the laptop. And it's weird and quirky because, like, I don't want to be hunched over the screen all the time. So, I mean, I use a separate keyboard, and I can move it where, I mean, you know, if I want to, like, be way over here and, like, type, I mean, I couldn't see the screen because I'm blind, but I just like this keyboard. It has a certain clack to it, and if you're an author or a writer, you know, like, there are weird little oddities about stuff, and that's one of mine. Like, I don't want to type from the laptop. I want a real keyboard. So the last question here. What are you most looking forward to now that you're part of AuthorTube? Well, I don't know. I think that in itself is sort of a it's a kooky question because, I mean, I can do this tag, and I've been doing these writing videos now for over a month, and I enjoy the process of it, but I don't know if I would go as far as to say, quote unquote, that I am a part of AuthorTube, because beyond Austin and a couple of other people, and I'm saying a couple meaning like 4 or 5, I haven't made a ton of connections in the writing community. So to say that I'm a part of AuthorTube, I think, is a little presumptuous, and I don't know that that question is very accurate. I will say, however, it would be nice to actually feel that way. I mean, you know, to have a sort of broader network of other people who write that I could routinely communicate with about writing. That would be great. I don't feel that that has occurred thus far. So yeah, those are the 7 questions that I chose. Like I said, today's been kind of an out there day, but not really bad, just busy. I got to speak to my brother again on the phone today, which was nice. We didn't have any technical difficulties, thankfully. He gave me a hard time about giving him a hard time the other day in my video, you know, concerning his channel, and he and I talked about that. I'm not going to say this for a certainty because he still hasn't made a decision, hint hint, but we are considering doing a podcast in the future. I mean, you know, if he decides to do that, it would be a thing where we did it maybe once a week or, you know, every so many days. But I think that would be neat. So I'm kind of, my fingers are a little crossed that we go down that road. We'll see how it pans out, and I will keep all of you informed on that. Let's see if there's any other things. The writing went well last night, despite the fact that I didn't have a lot of time. You know, hell, I just wrote as much as I could. My characters are still there where they are. They're like camped out, you know, they're getting ready to move on to their next destination. So yeah, I mean, that's about all I want to get into there. Another one thing I will mention, and that's the thing that made me think of talking to my brother on the phone. He suggested something to me the other day. I had told him that I had been having some hardware issues, you know, like trying to record and edit these videos on my computer, which doesn't want to work, and it crashes a lot. And so tentatively, I have decided that I want to do some kind of short story writing thing for the holidays. I don't know all the details yet, but I think what I will do, I'm going to include my email in the description for this video, and basically I'm offering out little gifts of a short story. Now by short, I'm saying it's probably only going to be like maybe 5 to 10 pages, probably 11 because I like that number better. And it's really hard for me to write, you know, a short thing. Like, hell, I'm almost 400,000 words in this novel. It's nowhere near done, so that should tell you. But yeah, I think it would be a really awesome gift for someone to receive a short story, because you can't run out to a store and buy that. I mean, that's a kind of unique art that you really can't put a price on. So yeah, that's the thing. If you would be interested in receiving one of these stories, or having one written for, you know, someone that you love or care about, someone in your family or whatever, you can send me a message via the email that I will leave, and I think maybe what I'll do is create like a little form, because for me, a part of the writing is being able to let my creativity go where it needs to go. So I mean, if someone requests a short story about Christmas, I can do that. But if they get too specific about what occurs in the story or whatever, then it inhibits my ability to write it. So as long as it's fairly open-ended, I mean, I can do the magic that needs to be done. But I think this will be interesting to add in, and there again, I think it would be a great gift. You know, like I said, you can't buy that. You know, it's very personal and sort of magical. I think it'd be neat. So yeah, I have rambled on enough, and I suspect that this video is probably running long. So yeah, I hope all of you are well. I hope your stories are moving forward. I think I'm going to tag some people as well. I will leave a link to the person who made this tag, which has all the questions. I think she has all the questions in her description. So feel free to do those instead of just, you know, the 7 that I chose. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what some of you are gonna do for it and would have to say. Sorry this video was a little rambly. Like I said, today's been busy and tried to cover a lot of ground here. But yeah, I hope all of you are well. If you're new to the channel, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Hopefully in the next few days my own schedule will get back to normal, and I can start, getting back into doing videos solely about the writing and, all that stuff. So, take care. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.